Let's talk about one of the coolest what-if scenarios from Campaign 2 that we unfortunately never got to see. And hopefully this would go without saying, but this is obviously going to contain some spoilers for Campaign 2, so if you haven't seen it yet, you've been warned. Alright, so one of the main narrative through lines of Campaign 2 was this war that was going on between the Dynasty and the Empire. And the Mighty Nein are kind of just thrust into the middle of this conflict, forced to choose a side. If you've seen the campaign, you know they lean toward the Dynasty. Well, this what-if stems from if they had gone the other direction. So who better to more fully explain this than Matt Mercer himself? So I'm going to throw it to Matt from the Campaign 2 wrap-up, and then I'll pick back up and fill you in even more.
There was an option here where you could have pursued a very strong empire-based story in basically becoming the classic mercenaries for hire by the better folk of the corrupt empire.
Okay.
And that narrative would have brought you guys probably deeper into Rexentrum a lot earlier in other parts of the Empire and rooting out corrupt elements, beginning to get involved with the Cerberus Assembly a lot earlier.
Ooh, boy.
And I was planning for that to intersect with you guys beginning to work with the Augen Trust, which is essentially like the secret spy network of the Empire, who works for the Crown, but also kind of works on their own of the Crown and kind of is butts heads with the Cobalt Soul, but also occasionally they work together on things.
Yeah, that would have been fascinating.
And the Augen Trust, this is actually kind of funny, I could say it, the leader of it, Schreiber, who's in the campaign guide, was supposed to be Matt Colville. Whenever you guys got to the Augen Trust, he was going to drive up and basically guest NPC, the head of the Augen Trust,
and we just never
to hire you guys on.
And then
we had lunch talking about it. We were throwing emails back and forth. He did this awesome write-up of like the people that work below him, and then you guys instead went to Jorah's. I like text.
See you, Colville.
I texted Colville. I was like, so things went a little differently.
Oh my god.
So
yeah, I mean,
when they come back to it, whenever they get back in the Empire, they've gone full Dynasty now. So sorry, buddy. He's like, that's how it goes.
So this is a really fun idea, right? Well, we're in luck because the rabbit hole goes deeper. But first, let's talk about Schreiber, and that's this gnome gentleman down here that Matt was talking about. Schreiber is the right-hand man of the king of the Empire, and also secretly the leader of the Augen Trust, which is the spy network. Now, as you know, within the Empire, we kind of have the Crown, and then we have the Cerberus Assembly. So like the Volstruckers are kind of the arm of the Cerberus Assembly. They kind of do the dirty work. The Augen Trust would be the equivalent of that for the Crown. And this right here is Matt Colville. And if you're not familiar with Matt Colville, you need to be. This video is already going to be long, so I'm not going to be long-winded about it here. But check him out on YouTube. He's a fantastic DM in his own right. He's an author. He's a man of many hats. Also, I'm going to be using last names now since they're both named Matt. So like Mercer was saying, he was working in tandem with Colville to kind of pull this together, and that Colville was going to play Schreiber. Well, we found out a lot more about their plans thanks to a live stream that Colville did. I think it was in like 2020 or 2021. I can't remember exactly. And unfortunately, that live stream has seemingly been wiped off the internet. I don't really know the story behind it. You know, I don't know. So anybody out there that's a better internet sleuth than me, maybe you could find it. And if you do, let me know in the comments because I would love to get access to that VOD. But anyway, in that stream, which I was watching live at the time, that's how I remember this, Colville talked about these same plans with Matt and shed a whole lot more light on what they had cooking. So if the Mighty Nein had leaned more toward the Empire, what Colville wanted to do was have them essentially work as mercenaries for Schreiber and the Augen Trust. However, Mercer thought that they might not go for that due to some of the backstories of some of the characters in the Mighty Nein. So Colville said, don't worry about that, we can force their hand. So what was going to happen in universe was the Augen Trust was going to leak information about the Mighty Nein to the Dynasty that the Dynasty would then want to take out the Mighty Nein. So the Dynasty would send assassins to take them out, and there would be a combat encounter. However, in the middle of that encounter, one of the Augen Trust spies would show up to help the Mighty Nein, essentially earning their trust. And then there would be this whole kind of narrative about they would build a relationship with that spy and slowly but surely go on missions. The spy would provide them helpful equipment and information until one day being like, hey, you guys have proven your trust to me. Let me introduce you to my boss. Now, it's important to note that up until this point, Colville has not joined the table. It's always been Mercer. He's the one that's been playing the Augen Trust spy, helping them, and now is going to take them to his boss. It's at this point that Mercer would get up from the table and leave. and Colville would come sit down behind the DM screen and take his place. He would be playing a character not Schreiber, but one he refers to as Lady Grey, who is the head of this spy network for Schreiber for the Augen Trust. Lady Grey was going to be based on Helen Mirren's character from Prime Suspect, and Colville said that she was going to look like her as well. So he was going to come in, sit behind the DM screen, and have this basically batch of files with him. And the files were going to be dossiers on each of the Mighty Nein, because as the head of this spy network, they were going to know things about the Mighty Nein that they didn't even know about each other. So it was just going to be this awesome kind of RP fuel to like have with each one of them individually, maybe picking up a file and reading things off and just seeing like what kind of stakes and tension that would build, especially with somebody like Caleb Widogast, who at this point in the campaign had not revealed his true identity or backstory to the rest of them. So this was just kind of like prime RP fuel, but it was also going to be kind of blackmail, You need to work for us or else this information might fall into the wrong hands. As the stream went on, Colville went to describe more of Lady Grey's backstory, how she used to be a spy herself, but in one mission she helped save the life of the king personally, so she was promoted to the spy master, and now she no longer goes on missions. But if the Mighty Nein had facilitated that relationship, more and more, that she might have eventually joined them on a mission, and that he also crafted this whole team of NPCs, of characters that worked under her. So it's really unfortunate that we didn't get to see any of this, because this sounds like such a cool idea. Can you just imagine the look on the players' faces when Mercer stood up and left and Colville came and sat down? It would have just been fantastic. So I hope that, obviously this specific scenario couldn't happen anymore, but I hope they bring Colville back in some form or fashion, because I would just love to see him at that table, even if he's not guest DMing, but even as a player. So anyway, I wanted to share this information because I know a lot of critters maybe missed this live stream or never heard about this potential. So let me know what you think.